There was also the discussion of personal surveillance. So Dr. Day said you'll be watching TV and someone will be watching you at the same time at a central monitoring station. TV sets would have a device to enable this to happen. Now, we know this was also in 1984, don't we? And he said the television set would be used to monitor what you are watching. People could tell what you're watching on TV, how you're reacting to what you're watching, and, you wouldn't even know you were being watched. Yeah, well, it's kind of like Gogglebox. They're getting you used to it, but they make it a program where it's all legit, huh? But it's getting you used to it. I mean, I've had those situations where you say something and the next thing you see adverts for it, and it's bizarre. So how would people accept these things into their homes? Well, people would buy them when they bought their television. They won't know they're in them at first. They'll think it's crazy, but eventually they'll just accept them. I think programs like Big Brother were definitely to get people ready for this. And if you think about it, people welcome these little tools like Alexa into their home. They think it's convenient, it's quirky, it's new technology, it's trendy, whatever they think about it. I can't see the use of it myself, but you see, they create this technology to be welcomed rather than ridiculed, feared, and distrusted, which it should be.
So basically, we enter the phase where our devices are spying on us as they are now. I can think of one time now, I never ever mentioned Peter Andre because I've no interest in him, but I just happened to mention his name once, first time ever, and my computer was on. And the very next thing I saw on Facebook, I was being advertised tickets to a Peter Andre concert. So that made me feel, wow, that stuff does work. Yeah, so crazy, hey. So he went on to say that by the time people found out that all this monitoring was going on, they'd be so dependent upon television for a number of things, just as the way they are dependent on the telephone. Right, we're all dependent on our smartphones to a greater or lesser degree. We can't go without them. People carry them, surgically attached to them. So it's very hard to go without that kind of technology once you get used to it, because it is so useful in many, many ways, but it also has a nefarious purpose. He said TV would also be used for purchases. Yeah, well, QVC. But he says you wouldn't be able to have to leave your home to purchase, which is great because they want you holed up in your home. I mean, we are social creatures. It's very important for human beings to be interacting with each other. It's very positive. It's good for your mood. It's good for your morale. It helps you to crack on in life. Being closed in your own little bubble in your home is very isolating. And you know, one of the key things that narcissists like to do is isolate you. And all these globalists, narcissism is key to the tactics that they use. So it says you could just turn on your TV and there would be a number of ways of interacting with your TV channel to make various purchases, and you could flip the switch from place to place to choose from a refrigerator to clothing, etc. It would be very convenient, but it would make it impossible for you to do without your TV. So the built-in monitor would be kind of ubiquitous to your life. So there was also a discussion of audio monitors, just in case the authorities wanted to hear what was going on. That's where your what was Siri and all that bull comes in. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. There was also a statement made that any wire that went into your house, for example, your telephone wire, could be used this way, basically as a surveillance tool, but it's much more easy now with Wi-Fi, etc. Next, very important, and something I discussed in Why Capitalists Love Communism, and also in Agenda 21, was privately owned homes would be a thing of the past. Apparently even Prince Philip has made statements along those lines, and so has Rockefeller. So privately owned housing would become a thing of the past. The cost of housing and financing housing would gradually be made so high that most people couldn't afford it. I think in this country where they've got to that is Tony Blair made it a thing that everyone goes to university. Or nearly everybody. They call everything a university now. Then you start getting slapped with fees. So institutions that were formerly colleges are now universities, and they can charge up to £9,000 a year, which when you consider that most people in the UK who go away to university go far away from home, therefore they need accommodation, people are racking up a huge amount of debt at university, which will probably never be paid off, and then they've got to go into the housing market where homes are getting increasingly expensive, especially in places like London and Birmingham, Manchester, where the jobs are. It means so many people can never dream of affording their home. They can never get a deposit together because the deposits are so high. So there you go. That is one way they are achieving it. So it also says people who already owned their homes would be allowed to keep them, but as years went by, it would be more and more difficult for young people to buy a home. You often hear that argument in the UK that, oh, in Germany and Poland it's quite common to rent. Why in the UK have we got this mentality that we have to own our own home? Because it's a fundamental right. I think all the, as far as I'm concerned, it's not only the UK, it's the US, Australia, South Africa. It's a basic ambition to own your own home because it gives you that security that you're not, at the behest of a landlord, right? So it's very, very important to your fundamental rights and your property rights. Aren't freedom of speech, property rights, and individuality the cornerstones of capitalism? Once your right to own private property is gone, so is capitalism. Said young people would more and more become renters, particularly in apartments and condos, and more unsold houses would stand vacant or would become communes. Lots of different people under the same roof because just people couldn't afford to buy them. They said the cost of housing would not come down. Yeah, so when they talk about a housing crash, that ain't going to happen, folks. They need the house prices to be very, very high. That's why they also need mass immigration to push that up. So it said eventually people would be forced away from bigger homes into smaller and smaller apartments. Hashtag there the bedroom tax, right? And small apartments would not accommodate many children. Yes, you see, I talked about that before. Note how in Russia there are so many apartment blocks everywhere. I noticed this during the World Cup in Russia because the aim was have people, sometimes more family than one, sharing an apartment because such is not conducive to having children. It's certainly not a very healthy environment for your mind either. Next, he said, ultimately, people would be actually assigned to where they would live, and it would be common to have non-family members living with you. Yeah, like I was just talking about the Soviet Union, different families under one roof. I'd say that's an anathema to our society in the West at the moment. You want to own your own home, move into your own home, have your own habits, your own life, not be sharing with people, strangers or lodgers. But yes, I can totally see that we could move to a society where they dictate where you can move. So he said, have in mind that in 1990, when they ask how many bedrooms in your house and how many bathrooms in the house and do you have a finished game room, yeah, that's one of the questions they ask on the census, isn't it? Probably they're talking about the US here, but I'm sure we were asked that as well. So when the new system takes over, people will be expected to sign on to it and obey. They will indicate that they don't have any reservations and they won't want to hold on to the old system. I mean, gosh, why on earth would they want to do that? There just won't be any room, Dr. Day said, for people who won't go along. We cannot have such people cluttering up the place. Such people would be taken to special places. Yes, re-education camps, the gulag. Listen to that. There will be no dissidents in this system. They will not tolerate insubordination. They are going to dictate that everyone follow this New World Order line. Isn't this just disgusting? And Dr. Dunnigan says, and here I don't remember the exact words, but the inference I drew was at these special places where they were taken, they would not live very long. Someone even said the phrase, disposed of humanely. Yeah. Or perhaps the prospect of going to such a place would be so bad it would leave death as the only alternative. I'm thinking of the man in 1984. He got the life beaten out of him until he succumbed to the system. These people are not nice, guys. In this vein, he said there would be no martyrs. When Dr. Dunnigan first heard this, he thought that people would not be killed. But as the presentation developed, what he meant was they would not be killed or disposed of in such a way that they could serve as an inspiration to other people and martyrs. He said that they would rather just disappear. In closing, he said the bringing in of the new system would probably occur on a weekend in the winter. Everything would shut down on Friday evening, and on Monday morning when everyone woke up, there would be an announcement that the new system was in place. During the process of getting the United States ready for these changes, everyone would be busier, with less leisure time and less opportunity to really look about and see what was going on around them. And there would be more changes, and more difficulty in keeping up as far as one's investments were concerned. Investment instruments would keep changing. Interest rates would be changing. It would be very difficult for people to keep up with what they were earning in real terms. About automobiles, he said it would look as if there were many varieties of automobiles, but if you look closely, there would be great duplication. They would all be the same, underlined the chrome and the wheel covers, but looking closely, you would see they were only made by one manufacturer.
All of these things were said by one individual, at one time, in one place, relating to so many different aspects of human endeavor and behavior. Now, let's have a look and see how many of these have actually come about, especially since the COVID crisis. What do you make of it?